My name is Emma Harper. I am 30 years old. My life got turned upside down at my dad's birthday party. It all happened so fast. Imagine this: a house full of people, laughter all around, clinking of glasses, the smell of food, and happy chatter everywhere. And then, out of nowhere, my dad leaned across the dining table. His eyes locked onto mine, and his voice was serious. "Emma, where is the $200,000 I gave you? What did you do with it?" My heart jumped into my throat. $200,000? I couldn't breathe for a moment. My hand froze, and the fork I was holding slipped and fell onto my plate with a loud clatter. I stammered, "What do you mean?" My sister's face turned white. Her hands shook as she tried to say something, but no words came out. The room fell silent, and the happy, warm mood vanished like smoke. I had been given a huge amount of money by my dad to chase my dream of opening a fashion store. And now, suddenly, it felt like someone I loved didn't trust me. I realized, painfully, that when family hurts you, it hurts the deepest. Have you ever had someone you trust hurt you? It really hurts. Before I start, share your story in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe. I have been working very hard in Chicago for many years. I work as a marketing coordinator for a medium-sized fashion brand. My job is fast, busy, and sometimes stressful. I spend my days pitching ideas, chasing deadlines, and dreaming about something bigger for myself. But my real dream has always been to open my own boutique. I wanted a little shop where I could design clothes and sell them to people who liked special, unique things. A few months ago, my dad made me feel that dream could actually happen. He wired me $800,000. He said it was all for me, with no rules or strings attached. It was my chance to start my own store and build something of my own. I was completely stunned. I felt so much love and trust from him. That $800,000 felt like a golden ticket to a new life. I had been saving money for years, looking at spaces in Salt Lake City where I grew up, dreaming about moving back and starting fresh. That money was my chance, and I wasn't going to waste it. Then a few days ago, my sister called me out of the blue. Her voice sounded tight and rushed, like she was reading from a script. "Dad's not feeling good," she said. "His birthday party is canceled. Don't come home. You don't need to worry about it." That didn't feel right at all. My dad's 60th birthday was a really big deal. He had been planning it for months, talking about the food, the decorations, and the people he wanted to invite. Why would he cancel the party and not tell me himself? I felt worried and confused. I pressed her for answers, asking if Dad was okay. She said quickly, "It's just a cold. Don't worry about it." Her voice sounded so rushed, like she wanted me to hang up the phone immediately. A knot formed in my stomach. Something wasn't right. She was hiding something. We have never been very close. She always liked flashy clothes, expensive trips, and living a life I couldn't keep up with. Growing up, she often borrowed my things without asking. She always told stories to make herself look better or cooler than everyone else. I learned to tune her out most of the time, but this phone call felt different. Her voice didn't match the Dad I knew. Why lie about something as simple as a birthday party? I checked my texts. There was nothing from Dad, which was unusual. He always called me directly to check in and ask about work or life. If he was sick, he would have called me himself. I began to think that maybe my sister was covering up something bigger than just a canceled party. I decided to fly back to Salt Lake City anyway. I wasn't going to miss Dad's 60th birthday, no matter what. I wanted to surprise him with a gift, a sleek, engraved watch I had saved money to buy. Booking the flight was easy. It was only 3 hours from Chicago. As I packed my bags, I couldn't stop thinking about my sister's strange call. Her words didn't sound like Dad at all. I opened my bank account to check my savings and felt grateful for the $800,000 Dad had given me. But then I noticed something strange, a small bank transfer I hadn't seen before. It was just a number, with no clear sender, buried in my account history. My heart raced. Could this have something to do with my sister's lie? I called my Aunt Margaret, who I always trust for family news. She is very smart and sees things clearly. She never makes drama out of nothing. I asked her about the party. She said, "Canceled?" "No. I was at their house yesterday. Your dad was fine, planning the menu and everything for the party." My grip on the phone tightened. Why would my sister lie about something so simple? Aunt Margaret paused and added, "I saw your sister with some new designer bags last week. She's been spending a lot of money lately. More than usual." My stomach sank. Designer bags, trips to Europe. Where was she getting all this money? A quiet suspicion began to grow inside me, like a small seed turning into a storm. On the plane, my mind raced. I held the watch tightly in my hand, trying to focus on seeing Dad. But my sister's rushed voice and the lie about the party kept echoing in my head. Her lie wasn't small. It felt like the tip of something much bigger. I landed in Salt Lake City and drove straight to Dad's house in Sugar House. The watch was safely in my bag. When I pulled up, I couldn't believe my eyes. Cars lined the street, and warm lights glowed from every window. The party was not canceled. My sister had lied, and I was about to find out why. I stepped inside and was hit by the noise of the party, voices, laughter, clinking glasses. Dad stood near the dining table, laughing with friends and looking perfectly healthy. Mom was near the kitchen arranging plates. My sister walked around in her designer heels, clicking on the floor. Aunt Margaret waved at me from across the room. I forced a smile, but my heart was racing. Why had my sister tried to keep me away? I went straight to Dad with the watch. "Happy birthday," I said, giving him the gift. His face lit up, and he pulled me into a tight hug. "You didn't have to come all this way," he said, his voice warm. But then I noticed my sister staring at me for a split second before looking away. Mom glanced at her and quickly looked down, fidgeting with a napkin. Their behavior seemed strange, like they were hiding something. I looked around and noticed them exchanging quick, nervous looks. I stayed close to Aunt Margaret, who was sipping wine by the dessert table. I whispered, "I thought it was canceled." She raised an eyebrow and said quietly, "Canceled? No. Your sister is the one who said you weren't coming." My stomach twisted. It wasn't just a lie about the party. It was about me. I pressed Aunt Margaret, asking if she had noticed anything strange. She leaned in closer and lowered her voice. "Your sister has been spending a lot lately. New designer bags, jewelry, even bragging about a trip to Paris. I saw her at the mall spending thousands like it was nothing." My mind went back to our phone call. Her rushed tone, her fancy shopping, her trip to Paris. My sister was living far beyond her means. Where was all that money coming from? I glanced at her again. She was laughing loudly with friends, her diamond earrings shining in the light. Mom was nearby, smiling but fidgeting with her bracelet. A cold shiver ran through me. Was she hiding something big? Something connected to that mysterious bank transfer I had seen? I wanted to confront her right then, but the party wasn't the place. I needed proof, not just feelings. As I helped clear plates, my sister brushed past me. "Didn't expect you here," she muttered, barely looking at me. "Thought you'd be too busy in Chicago?" Her voice was sharp, almost mean. I held back a reply and watched her walk away. My mom ignored me completely, busy with the cake. Their secretive behavior felt like a big wall between us. I stood there holding the watch, my heart heavy. My family seemed happy on the outside, but I knew there was a secret, and I had to figure it out. Something was very wrong, and I wasn't going to let it go. Aunt Margaret pulled me aside again. She looked very serious, her face tight like she was holding something in. I didn't understand what was happening, but she whispered to me, "Emma, your sister has been acting strange for weeks, and your mom, she's in on it too." My heart started beating so fast I thought it might jump out of my chest. I tried to calm myself, but I couldn't. I felt my hands get sweaty and my knees shake. The pieces didn't make sense yet, but something was wrong. The lies, the sneaky spending, the strange looks, they all added up to something big. Something I wasn't supposed to know. I gripped the edge of the table so hard that my fingers hurt. This party wasn't just a birthday party anymore. I could feel it. It was about to reveal secrets that would change everything. The party was busy. Guests were laughing, talking, and moving around. Music was playing softly in the background. I stayed close to my dad, watching him open gifts. His laughter made me feel a little better, like maybe everything was okay. But deep down, something still felt wrong. My sister, Olivia, and my mom were keeping their distance from me. Every time I got close, their eyes darted around nervously. I tried to push the thought away. Dad deserved a happy birthday. I told myself to focus on the party, on the cake, on the presents. Finally, the cake was brought out. Everyone gathered around the dining table. Dad stood at the head of the table, smiling. He looked so happy and proud. He was ready to cut the first slice. I was about to raise my glass for a toast when Dad turned his head and looked at me. His expression changed from happy to serious. His eyes were sharp and steady, and his voice was low but clear. "Emma," he said, "the $200,000 I sent you, what did you do with it?" My heart stopped. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. $200,000? I whispered. My mind went blank. I almost dropped my glass. "What do you mean?" I stammered. The room went completely silent. Everyone's eyes were on me. My throat felt tight, like I couldn't swallow. I didn't understand. I knew about the $800,000 Dad gave me for my boutique. But this was another $200,000? How? When? Where had it gone? My hands started to shake. I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could say anything, Olivia jumped in. Dad, she probably just forgot, she said quickly, her voice high and shaky. You know how busy she is in Chicago. Her hands twisted together like she was trying to hide something. Her face went pale, almost white, like she had been caught in the middle of something wrong. I stared at her. My confusion turned into a sharp feeling in my chest. Why was she trying so hard to cover for me? Dad raised his hand to stop her. Olivia, he said, his voice sharp like a knife. I'm asking Emma. Everyone went quiet. My mom, standing close to Olivia, gripped her wine glass so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Aunt Margaret leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her eyes narrowing like she had been waiting for this moment all night. The air felt heavy, like a storm was about to hit. I swallowed hard, my mind spinning with fear and confusion. Dad, I don't know anything about the $200,000, I said, my voice cracking. I got $800,000 for my boutique, and I'm planning to use it for that. But I never saw this other money. My words felt like they were floating in the air, too small and fragile, but I tried to say them anyway. Olivia's eyes widened. She opened her mouth to speak, but Dad's glare stopped her. Emma, he said slowly, I sent you and Olivia $200,000 each. It was separate from the boutique money. It was for your future, for your dreams. You're telling me you didn't know? My stomach sank. Separate money? For me? I shook my head. No, Dad. I swear I never got it. I didn't even hear about it. My voice got louder as shock turned into anger. How could I not know about $200,000? I looked at Olivia. She was gripping the table tightly. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking. Olivia tried again, her voice high and nervous. Dad, maybe there was a mix-up at the bank. You know how these things happen. But her voice didn't sound real. She kept looking at the floor, not at me. My chest tightened. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mom stepped forward, holding Olivia's arm as if to steady her, but she didn't say a word. Her silence was louder than any words. Dad's jaw tightened. His eyes were burning, and I could see something in them I had never seen before. Anger, betrayal, maybe even disappointment. Enough, he said, his voice strong and sharp. Emma, are you sure you didn't know? I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Everyone was holding their breath. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about trust. And it was breaking right in front of me. Dad looked at me, then at Olivia. I sent $200,000 to each of you. Separate from the boutique money. It was for your future. I trusted you to use it wisely. His words hit me like a hammer. I had never even seen a penny of it. My head was spinning. He turned to Olivia. And you, Olivia? What did you do with yours? Olivia looked at my mom, then at the floor. She twisted her necklace with her hands. I used it for investments, Dad. Smart choices, she whispered. Her voice cracked. Dad's face got darker. Investments? Then why did Aunt Margaret say you've been spending it on designer clothes and trips to Europe? I looked at Aunt Margaret. She nodded slightly, looking serious and grim. Olivia's shoulders slumped. She looked at my mom, hoping for help, but Mom just stood there, quiet, her hands tight, her face worried. Mom said softly, Jonathan, let's not do this here. We can talk privately. Dad ignored her. Emma, you're telling me you never got your share? I nodded. I swear, Dad. I thought the $800,000 was all you gave me. Dad turned to Olivia, his voice loud and hard. Then where's Emma's money? Because it sure didn't get to her. Olivia's face went pale. She whispered, I thought it was mine, Dad. I didn't mean to. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Glasses rattled. You took $200,000 that wasn't yours and spent it on handbags and vacations. I felt my fists clench. All those years of Olivia's fancy lifestyle, she had been using my money. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I looked at Mom. I expected her to defend me, but she just stood there quiet. Mom, I said, my voice breaking. Did you know? She flinched but didn't answer. Her lips were pressed into a thin line. Dad's voice dropped, quiet and dangerous. Victoria, you were in on this too, weren't you? Mom's eyes went wide. Jonathan, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Olivia needed help, and I thought we could fix it before anyone noticed. My blood boiled. They had taken my money, my future, and they called it a mistake. I felt my legs shake. My hands were trembling. I couldn't believe it. The party, the music, the happy faces around us, It all felt wrong now. Everything I thought I knew about my family had changed in one night. And it all started with $200,000. Dad took out his phone. His hands didn't shake, even though he looked very angry. "I'm calling the police," he said firmly. Olivia gasped and stepped back. "Dad, no. Please," she cried, tears running down her face. Mom grabbed his arm, panicking. "Jonathan, don't do this. We are family." Dad shook her off. His face was cold. "Family doesn't betray each other. You both knew what you were doing. It ends now." He dialed the phone and spoke calmly to the dispatcher. "I need police at my home in Sugar House. It's about theft. $200,000. The guests at the house froze. Some quietly walked to the door. No one wanted to see what would happen next. Dad turned to Olivia and Mom. His words were sharp. "You are out of my life, both of you. And you will pay back every cent starting now." I could barely breathe. My family was falling apart, and nothing could fix it. The police station was cold and empty, very different from Dad's warm house. I waited in a small area, my hands clenched tightly. I still couldn't believe what happened. Dad stood nearby, his face serious, while Aunt Margaret flipped through a folder of papers she had brought. Olivia and Mom were in different rooms being asked questions. The weight of what had happened pressed down on me. My family had broken up in just a few hours. An officer came over. His badge shone under the bright lights. "Ms. Harper, we have statements from your sister and mother. You'll want to hear this." He led us to a small room with a one-way window. I could see Olivia sitting at a metal table, her eyes red and puffy. Mom was in another room, her head down, hands fidgeting. My stomach felt sick. I wasn't ready for this, but I needed to know the truth. The officer started with Olivia. "She admitted to taking money from a joint account your father set up," he said, looking at Dad. "The account had $200,000 for you and $200,000 for your sister. She took your money a few weeks ago, saying she thought it was hers." I gasped. "A few weeks ago?" That explained all the new things she bought, and her trip to Milan. "She spent my money like it was nothing." "Did she say why?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. The officer nodded. "She said she needed it for clothes, plane tickets, and a luxury hotel stay. Most of it is gone. Maybe $10,000 left in her accounts." $10,000. My heart sank. $200,000 meant for my future was almost all gone. I looked at Dad. "What about Mom?" I asked, afraid of the answer. The officer checked his notes. "Mom said she knew about it. She gave Olivia access to the account, thinking they could put the money back before anyone noticed." I clenched my fists. They had played with my money, and now it was gone. Dad's hand gripped the chair. His knuckles were white. "They had no right," he muttered, his voice low. Aunt Margaret stepped forward with her folder. "I have proof," she said, giving the officer a stack of papers. "Receipts from Olivia's shopping trips. Thousands of dollars on handbags, jewelry, and first-class plane tickets." The officer looked at the papers. "This matches her story. She used the money for herself. She didn't hide it." I stared at the receipts through the glass. Chanel bags, a Rolex, a trip to Italy, all bought with my money. Olivia sat with her head in her hands. No more confidence, no more pride. Mom in the other room looked sad and defeated. They had planned this together, thinking I would never know. The officer turned to us, serious. "This is a big crime. It's called felony theft second degree in Utah. They could get up to 15 years in jail plus fines. They also have to pay back the money." He paused and looked at me. "But most of the money is gone. We can take their stuff, cars, jewelry, but it won't cover everything." I nodded. Justice sounded empty when my money was already spent. Dad spoke, breaking the silence. "I want them prosecuted," he said firmly. "They betrayed my daughter. I won't let it go." The officer nodded and wrote something down. "We'll press charges. They will stay here tonight, and we'll need your statements." I felt a mix of guilt and determination. Olivia and Mom made their choices, and now they would face the consequences. As we left the room, Aunt Margaret put her hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing, Emma," she said softly. I wasn't sure. The truth was out, but it didn't feel like a win. My family was broken, and my money was gone. All I could do was fight to make things right. The weeks after the police station felt very long. I sat in Dad's study in Sugar House, surrounded by the familiar bookshelves. But the air felt heavy. Dad had called me to meet with his lawyer, a choice that would change our family forever. I fidgeted with my hands, still feeling hurt from Olivia and Mom's betrayal. Rachel Thornton, Dad's lawyer, walked in with her briefcase. "Emma Jonathans, your father made changes to his will," she said clearly and professionally. Dad sat across from me, tired but serious. "I've rewritten my will," he said, looking at me. "The house, the investment money, everything goes to you. Olivia and Mom get nothing." His words hit me hard. The house was worth over $1 million, and the funds from his real estate were a fortune. But getting it like this didn't feel happy. "Are you sure, Dad?" I asked quietly. He nodded, jaw tight. "They used your money without permission. They don't deserve my trust." Rachel handed me the new will. I saw my name as the only person getting everything. The weight of it pressed on me. It wasn't just money. It was the end of hope for fixing our family. Rachel adjusted her glasses. "Olivia and Mom were charged with felony theft 2nd degree for taking the $200,000. They both have 36 months probation. They also have to pay restitution, $200,000 to you, plus fines of $8,000 each." My stomach twisted. Restitution sounded fair, but I knew only $10,000 was left from the money. "How can they pay back what's gone?" I asked. Aunt Margaret joined us, calm but firm. Olivia tried. She sold her Mercedes and some designer stuff, handbags, jewelry, and Rolex. Got about $40,000 total. $40,000. My heart sank. That was far from $200,000. "What about Mom?" I asked, dreading the answer. Aunt Margaret sighed. "She's selling what she can, some jewelry, a few collectibles. Maybe $10,000 more." I leaned back, my mind spinning. $50,000 total. Still a fraction of what they owed. Rachel spoke again. "The judge made a plan. They'll pay every month based on their income. But it could take years. If they miss payments, they could go to jail for 1 to 3 years. Years. The word echoed in my head. Olivia and Mom, once part of our family, now faced a future full of debt and trouble. Dad broke the silence. "I don't care how long it takes. They made their choices." I saw the pain behind his anger. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, completely broken. I thought about all the times I trusted them, sharing secrets, laughing together, hoping for family fun, and how it all turned into lies. It hurt more than losing the money. Losing the family I thought I had hurt like a big, heavy stone pressing on my chest. Even after weeks of talking with lawyers and police, I still had nightmares. I would see Olivia's shopping bags, the fancy trips, the things bought with my future money, and my stomach would twist. I imagined what my life could have been with that money. College, maybe a new car when I was older, trips I wanted to take, gone. But Dad stayed strong. He hugged me once when I cried and said, "We will get through this. They made their choice, and you are the one who didn't betray anyone." Aunt Margaret helped too. She stayed with me at the house, checking on things, keeping me company. Sometimes we went through Olivia and Mom's receipts again, seeing what was left, what could be sold. It was slow, frustrating, and sad. But it was real. One day, Dad and I sat in the living room. "You know, Emma," he said softly, "I am proud of how you handled all of this. You didn't get angry at me or Aunt Margaret. You stayed calm. That matters." I smiled a little. It was hard, but I felt proud too. I knew that even though our family had broken apart, I had stayed honest. I stayed strong. Olivia and Mom were still in trouble, paying back money little by little. It would take years, but I was safe. I still had Dad. I still had Aunt Margaret. And slowly, I realized that even though the family I knew was gone, I could still build a life where I could trust again. It wouldn't be easy, but I would be careful. I had learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it can't be fixed the same way. But I had also learned that love, honesty, and courage could help me move forward, even when things seemed impossible. And so, even though my heart hurt and my money was gone, I felt a tiny spark of hope. The fight to make things right was long, but I knew I could face it, one day at a time. Olivia and Victoria had moved out of the Sugar House neighborhood because they didn't want to hear people gossiping about them. Everyone in the neighborhood had once been their friend, but now whispers followed them wherever they went. They rented a small apartment on the edge of Salt Lake City. It was tiny, old, and run down, nothing like the fancy houses they used to live in. Olivia, who used to show off her beautiful clothes and shiny jewelry, now worked small jobs like waiting tables just to follow the rules of her probation. Victoria, who had lost all her social friends and her position in society, took a small office job. She spent most of her money on lawyers. Their lives had fallen apart. They were just trying to survive under the weight of court rules, shame, and the mistakes they had made. I tried to feel something, anger, sadness, anything, but all I felt was emptiness. The money was gone, and so was the family I thought I had. It felt like a hole had opened up inside me that nothing could fill. Aunt Margaret reached for my hand. Her hand was warm and strong, and it felt like it was holding me together. "You are stronger than you think, Emma," she said softly. "You will build something new. You will find your own happiness." Her words were kind and gentle, but they couldn't fill the emptiness I felt inside. Dad stood tall and serious. "This is your home now," he said, showing me the house around us. "Make it yours. Take care of it. Make it a place where you can be happy." As I left the study and walked down the hall, the reality settled in. The money was mine, but everything else, the trust, the friendships, the family I thought I had, was gone. I had gained something, yes, but I had also lost so much. Time has a way of softening pain. Months after everything happened, I stood in the heart of Salt Lake City, looking at the sign above my new store, Harper's Charm. The shop shone in the morning sunlight. The windows were clean and bright, and inside, they displayed the beautiful clothes and accessories I had spent weeks choosing. The $800,000 Dad had given me, his gift for my future, had turned a lifelong dream into reality. Opening a fashion store was not just about money or business. It was my way of rebuilding a part of my life that had been broken. It was my way of showing myself that I could create something good even after all the bad things had happened. The past year has been like a storm. After Dad changed his will to leave me the house and his investment money, I left my job in Chicago and moved back to Utah. It wasn't an easy choice. Chicago had been my escape. It was a place far away from family problems, a place where I could try to start a new life without being reminded of the betrayal. But Salt Lake City was home, and Dad needed me just as I needed him. Aunt Margaret, who was always calm and steady, helped me settle into the Sugar House, which was officially mine now. Together, we made the house feel safe and warm. We filled it with new happy memories that didn't carry the sting of betrayal. Starting the boutique was harder than I had expected. I had to put all my energy, all my time, and all my money into it. The $800,000 Dad gave me went into renting a perfect spot downtown, designing the inside of the shop, and finding unique clothes from local designers, and even some from faraway countries. Every day felt busy and tiring. I stayed up late, balanced the money books, learned how to run a business, and sometimes wondered if I had made the right choice. But slowly, customers began to come. People noticed the clothes, the way the store looked, and the attention to detail. Fashion bloggers wrote about my boutique, and soon more and more people came to see it. By the 6th month, Harper's Charm was earning just enough to pay for everything, and by 9 months it was doing really well. A magazine called it Salt Lake's new gem, and I felt a pride I hadn't known in years. I felt like I had done something truly my own, something no one could take away from me. Living near Dad and Aunt Margaret gave me something I didn't expect. A small but real family. Dad, now retired, spent his days gardening, taking care of the yard, or stopping by my store with a cup of coffee. His laughter, which used to be rare, now filled our Sunday dinners. Aunt Margaret would tell stories about her travels, or joke about Dad's strange taste in ties. We weren't perfect, and sadness about what happened with Olivia and Victoria still lingered, but we were honest with each other. That honesty, telling the truth even when it was hard, became our glue. It was what kept us together, and it was what made our little family strong. I didn't hear much from Olivia or Victoria anymore. The court had ordered them to pay back the $200,000 they had taken from me, but they only sent small, irregular payments. Olivia had to sell her car and her designer things just to gather money. Victoria lived on the small salary from her clerical job. They were quiet, living far from town, their lives nothing like the life they used to have. I didn't want bad things to happen to them, but I also couldn't reach out. Their choices had drawn a line between us that couldn't be crossed. One evening, I closed the boutique and sat at the counter, drawing ideas for a new clothing line. The quiet hum of the city outside felt comforting, like a gentle reminder that life moved on. I thought about the money, the $800,000 that had given me this opportunity, and the $200,000 that had torn us apart. It wasn't just about the dollars. It was about what the money represented. Olivia and Victoria's greed had cost them everything: family, trust, and stability. Their choices showed me what happens when people let ambition turn into selfishness. Looking back, I realized the lesson wasn't just about losing. It was about truth. Being honest with myself, with Dad, and with Aunt Margaret had helped rebuild what was broken. It wasn't easy to face the pain, to stand up to betrayal, or to work every day building a business. But it was worth it. That truth carried me through the long days of running the shop, through quiet moments of doubt, and into a life I could call my own. As I locked the shop and stepped outside, I looked at the skyline of Salt Lake City. The lights twinkled against the mountains, and the city felt alive and peaceful at the same time. This was my home now. This was my future. It was built on the lessons I had learned. That greed destroys, but honesty lasts forever. That money can give you opportunities, but it cannot replace trust and family. That even after everything seems broken, it is possible to build something new and strong. I walked home slowly, thinking about the store, the clothes I wanted to design next, and the little family waiting for me at home. I thought about how strong I had become, not because I had money, but because I had faced pain, betrayal, and loss, and I had not let it stop me. Life was not perfect, but it was real. It was mine. And every night, as I lay in bed, I felt a small warmth in my heart. I felt hope. I felt ready to keep building, to keep dreaming, and to keep being honest. Even though Olivia and Victoria had made bad choices, even though they had lost so much, I knew I had learned something important. I had learned that honesty, hard work, and love for the people who truly care about you can last forever. Money can come and go, people can betray you, and life can be very hard. But if you are true to yourself and the people who matter, you can build something beautiful. Something strong. Something that no one can take away. And as I looked at the mountains and the city lights, I knew that I was ready for whatever came next. My boutique, Harper's Charm, was more than a store. It was my dream, my effort, and my heart turned into reality. And my home with Dad and Aunt Margaret was more than a house. It was a safe place, a place filled with love, laughter, and honesty. This was life, and I was finally ready to live it fully. Greed destroys, yes, but honesty, love, and hard work endure forever.